Take a look at this shit in here. I have taken out all of the boxes in my closet in an attempt to clean up this place. The bed under the bed has already been cleaned up. Got to deal with my desk. Got to deal with all of that stuff over there. But and if you watch my live streams, you would have seen this, is that my closet has always been packed to the brim. Now the top part is still packed to the brim, but like it it somehow I was able to jury rig the closet into being able to fit all of these totes and a ginormous amount of stuff on top of them, and including some of the boxes that are now put under the bed. I just slammed them all together in an attempt to put them all in one place. And I didn't like the fact that my closet was just being completely consumed by all of these boxes. But in an attempt to fix the problem and restructure how the boxes are packaged, how they're packaged under the bed, in the closet, around the room, trying to figure out, what I can do with furniture and stuff, I've just felt completely depressed in doing so. And this happens to me every time I clean my room. I always feel like shit each time I clean my room. By the way, this is where the NES is that I've wanted to play on this thing. I've wanted to play on this thing forever, but I don't have the proper parts to fix it. This is a copy of Mr. Dew's Castle on the ColecoVision, complete in box. It's the only complete in box. It's the only complete in box ColecoVision game that I have. This is the only complete in box Game Boy Color game that I have. Is a fucking Yu-Gi-Oh game. My NES games are in here. Gyrus, the first game I ever reviewed. Jeez, that was in like 2015. That was 4 years ago. Got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Good stuff. Good games. I wanna take these out and play them, but I just can't right now because the NES is broken. And I'd like to have these things where I can just pull them out and get them. I got my Nintendo 64 games here. I don't actually have very many good Nintendo 64 games. Like, GoldenEye's not very good. It's not the best game. Banjo-Kazooie, it's alright. Dark Rift, bad game. Tonic Trouble's pretty fun. I like Tonic Trouble. Fun game. But for some reason this always seems to happen to me whenever I'm like cleaning up shop and trying to reorganize stuff, is that I just get really, really depressed. And I don't know if it's like having to move around and reshuffle all of my stuff, but like reorganizing things and cleaning my room, it just makes me feel like physically worse. It makes me feel like my entire mood has gone down in some sense. And I tend to try and distract myself from this by just talking to people on the phone, on Discord, that type of thing, just to keep myself from thinking about, oh, I really am cleaning my room right now. I don't want to do it. Maybe it's just sheer laziness. It's like me being like, oh, well, gotta do this task right now. Guess I have to. But I always end up feeling like shit whenever I'm doing it. What's in this box? Forget what's in here. Oh! Ooh, this is cool stuff in here. Okay, so let me move the stinger, because these are Dreamcast accessories I have here. But look at this. This is the Dreamcast fishing rod, the greatest peripheral ever made. But this is my complete set of the VHS tapes for the anime Fujoshi Yugi. Now this show is about 52 episodes long, and I remember I got just an amazing deal. Oh no, the tapes are starting to fall out of the box. I don't want the boxes to get damaged. I don't want them to get okay. The boxes look all right. I've been trying to keep them in good condition. It's just it's difficult to keep them in good condition when they're being shuffled around in the closet and then when they have stuff on top of them. But this is my I got all of these tapes at once for like I think it was like $50 at the time. It was a steal because I had been looking on eBay like forever after I had watched this that anime snob review of Fujushi Yugi, and he hated the show. He said it was like yaoi baiting shit. That was just like a terrible isekai from the '90s. But it seemed like my kind of thing. So I look all around for VHSs of the show, so I could watch on the player, on the VHS player on my CRT. And eventually, I find this one seller that sells all like I think it was like 15 tapes or something like that. I'm not going to pull them out and count each of them, but it was a lot of tapes. Um, for like $50, and I like bought them right away because that was a steal. Because I tried to find all of the tapes individually, and I couldn't find like a seller for every single tape. And a lot of the time, they cost like $5 for each tape. And so if you bought all of them individually, eventually it got to like $150 or something like that. And so it was a big, crazy price. And so I was so happy to find that complete set for that show because it isn't the English dub. That's the thing, is that the English dub, I guess because more of them were produced, they had a bunch of copies of the English dub on eBay at the time. And I didn't want to watch the English dub because usually VHS English dubs of anime are pretty bad. They tend to not be very good. Um, and so I wanted the subtitled version, and there was that one fucking seller that had all of the tapes of the subtitled version, and I just jumped on it right away because it was my birthday at the time. So I had money that I was given, which is like the only time I would have had money that year. I never had money otherwise. And so the one time that I had money, I was like, okay, got to get this. This is the perfect opportune moment. I never finished the show, but I'm really happy to have those as part of my VHS collection. And the rest of my VHS collection is in storage now. I don't have them physically here, but it's something that I want to expand over time. Is that one of my goals is to own every single subtitled Western released VHS tape of anime. And there's a lot of them that are pretty rare because I don't tend to watch dubs. There's probably like two dubs that I like, maybe three. So I don't watch dubs, and so I wanna get all of the subtitled VHS tapes that were released stateside, and then I want to start getting into buying the Japanese VHS tapes of hentai because there were a lot of really fascinating hentai OVAs being produced in the 80s and 90s. Some of them on like a shoestring budget. In the 80s, you had things like Cream Lemon that could experiment with cooler directors or with a higher budget because the economic boom was happening at the time. But some really like strange tentacle porn and just strange stuff, really, really strange stuff. Not stuff that I'm attracted to because I don't have those fetishes, but like things that would be great as collector's items out of Japan that I want to own on VHS. And then when you start getting into like anime laser discs, like if I could own Macross Do You Remember Love on laser disc, that would be like the pinnacle of my collection. And I don't have my laser disc player anymore, but we had one up in the attic that just kind of got tossed around up there and got broken. But I want to own a Laserdisc player again. Anime Betamax is a really fascinating market to me because there were a surprising amount of tapes that were released stateside on Betamax. And by the way, I need to excuse my dog in the background. Is that he's currently in a different room, being kept away from his sister because he's trying to fuck his sister all the time because she's in heat. And so we have to keep them separated from one another. So I've been trying to check on him and make sure he's doing all right and everything. And because currently the door has been open and closed, the front door, and he likes to run out of the door into the street. I have to keep him in another room separated, not just from his sister, but also out of the living room to make sure he doesn't run outside. So that's what that's about, is that he tends to make a bunch of sounds when he can't be around his sister when she's in heat because he has the animalistic urges going on. But no, Betamax is really cool. And I used to be really into like learning about like stereo systems and stuff from from that era in time, um, and like sort of trying to figure out how to find the best way to view all of this old technology and to make all of this old technology function in the best way that it possibly can, has been a huge passion of mine. Like, if I could get a hold of a 1080i, Sony Trinitron television, one of the last ones they produced, like when they were producing some of the last CRT HD televisions, in like 2006, 2005, the last line of them that were produced before they moved, totally to LCD TVs and flat screens. If I could just get a hold of one of those and had a way to get it transferred, like to have people who were strong enough to lift the damn thing up and put it in my house, then that would be like heaven on earth to me. Because that was the television I grew up with. Was that in the living room we had this big Sony Trinitron, just amazing, a monolith of a 16 by 9 CRT, and I want to own one again, and I want to get like a proper stereo system to run all this stuff on. Like if you look at like my NES, for instance, like my NES. Wait, no, that's not the NES box. Where is it? Like my NES, it doesn't have RGB SCART modification, but if you get RGB SCART, you can just put it in a FrameMeister, and then a FrameMeister can up convert it, to HDMI with little to no frames being dropped. Because if you just buy a normal HDMI converter, then what you're going to get is a situation where some of the frames are being dropped, and you start to get slow down, especially in shooters and stuff. So if you want the clearest possible picture, you've got to go with a FrameMeister. And then if you want to add, another level on top of that, you're converting RGB SCART to the FrameMeister to a 1080i CRT television, preferably into 720p, just because 720p looks better than 1080i in my opinion. But like, if you're converting it to a CRT, a television that it was meant to be viewed on, using this higher grade equipment, then you're going to get the best possible look you can out of these old games. Um, and like, I'm fascinated by stuff like that. I'm fascinated by owning physical things, being able to have a physical representation of stuff that I love. The one problem with that, though, is that it takes up a bunch of space. And my old room, the room that I grew up in, was a lot bigger than the room that I have now. And so, trying to apply the mental gymnastics it takes to figure out how to store all of these things is a Herculean task in and of itself. And so, I end up being wrought with a situation where I really don't know how to package and move all of these things. And so, what was once just cleaning my room, which was already a nightmare in and of itself, I've never liked doing that. Look at old pictures of my room from, 2010, 2009 to now. It's pretty much the same thing for like 10 years of just not enjoying the act of doing it. Um, like, I get a situation where it's not just nightmarish in and of itself. It's nightmarish because I have no idea how to package all of these things. I have no idea how to, first of all, have the money and the means to put these things on display in a way that would utilize the space that I have to my best ability, because I can't afford fucking furniture, can barely afford food in here. Um, and so, and so, like, trying to figure out just what to do with all of these boxes, and then knowing that I have more boxes that aren't even in the house right now. It's a mess. It's a mess trying to figure that out. And so I find myself just pacing around going, man, I really do own a lot of things that I just can't really use right now. Or I really do own a lot of things that I have to do something about pretty soon because the idea of not having them be clean bothers me more than having to get up and clean all of them. Because I can stay around in a messy space. I can stay around in a messy space for a relatively long amount of time. But you get that one moment where it's like, I've had enough. I need to restructure things. I need to make this goddamn room clean right now. And then you realize you don't have the means to do so, or you have to think way outside of the box to the point that it takes hours trying to figure out how to make all of this stuff work in the first place. Um, and so it just depresses me. Um, it's like a king being alone in his castle or something, except his castle is just a tiny casket that he's forced to reside in with all of his things, slowly being crushed by the by the walls around him. These four walls, one might say. Um, so I don't know how the hell I'm gonna figure out how to store these things. I just really want to play on that NES. That's the thing, is that's the one, like, that's the one thing that's like looming over me that I've been thinking about for like the past like couple of months, is that I'll go in my closet, I'll open the thing up and I'll put something in there or I'll get something out, and then I'll remember that NES is sitting right there in that box and I want to play on it. I want to plug the damn thing up and play on it. I just can't. Um, it's a real struggle. By the way, if any of you want to add me on Steam, speaking of video games, I'm gonna start linking Steam in the descriptions because I think it would be cool to play more games with like fans of my videos or something. I don't like using the word fan, but people who generally watch my content, if you want to play games with me, Steam is in the description. Um, Cleaning your room is hard. I don't know why people advocate for this. The only reason I sometimes advocate for it is that eventually it gets to a point where like I can't not clean the room because I've spent so long not cleaning it that I just need a change of pace, a change of scenery, or to have my things where I can get them. Because that's really the fundamental problem. Is that when you have all these damn boxes of stuff you want to get out and want to use stacked on top of each other, in order to get to one, you have to move all of the other boxes. And so it pisses you off because, first of all, you have to do the mental gymnastics of trying to figure out how the fuck you're going to get all of them in one tiny space. And then after you do, a couple days later, you walk up and go, oh, I need to get something out. Oh no, if I pull one thing out, all of it's going to fall down. So um, that's the mess. That's the mess I'm in the process of trying to clean up if I even can.